How you doing, man?
Wow. Episode 6 of Our Place. 4 episodes left till this show is done with season 1.
Nice,
It's pretty
nice.
crazy. Uh, I got a cool guy here today, man. I got Osman,
Okay,
Jay, Ori.
that's me.
That's how you say it,
Yeah,
man? All
yeah, yeah.
right.
That's how you say it.
Yeah. This dude is a photographer, first off. But I had him on the show because he kind of has a unique photography that I think kind of like stands out here in Lancaster. And I'm just like a really big fan of like the kind of projects he does. I've been looking into more of his projects, especially in the last day or two, and just like, and we're gonna go through that. But his work is just very unique to this area, and I'm a big fan of it. So I'm gonna give him a chance to kind of talk about himself and his work for a second, and then we'll dive in.
Cool. Appreciate it. Osman Ori. Most people call me Oz. It's just easier. Most people mispronounce my name a lot, so it's just go with Oz. 30-year-old photographer. Been living in Lancaster all my life. Started photography, I'd say like 12 years ago,
Yeah.
just before I got into college. The rest is history. Yeah, I mean, I've been working,
Yeah.
grinding at it ever since. Got a couple projects in the works and just trying to
Cool.
keep it going, man.
Yeah. And what kind of photography do you do?
A lot of it's all film. I use like three main cameras. There's a 35 millimeter like Canon AE1 for all you camera heads. Um, and then I use like a Hasselblad 503. It's another medium format camera.
Okay.
And then a 4x5 camera. It's like a Chinese made one. But like, quick rundown. Basically, the bigger the negative, like the
Yeah.
dimensions of the negative, the more information you get. So like
Okay. Cool.
with the bigger camera, it's like having more megapixels.
Cool.
With the 35 millimeter camera, it's like having a lower resolution camera. So that's kind of how that equates.
Gotcha. And they're
Essentially,
all film.
they're all film. Yeah.
Wow, dude.
I just got a new digital camera though, so
Okay.
I am experimenting with that because I
Yeah.
need to do more client work and commissions and stuff.
I feel
But
you.
but everything I mostly do is film. Everything on my
Yeah.
Instagram, all that's film. So
Which is pretty incredible
yeah,
because I mean, there's not a ton, especially around here, of film photographers.
no.
And I think it kind of gives you a unique edge. Talk to us about some of your recent projects.
Well, there's one main one. It's called "I'm Still Black." And that's probably the main one we'll talk about. But there's others.
Okay.
But that one I'm focusing on right now. I'm shooting it with my 4x5. Just because I want as much detail in people's faces as possible. And I'm shooting like portraits of people around the area. Generally, like people of color, more or less black people. But I'm kind of debating on whether I should expand it or not, or keep it
Yeah.
within black people, or if I would go to like Afro Latino. But right now, that project, I'll just start from the beginning. That project started out as me trying to find my identity as a black person,
Yeah.
especially a black male in society. And that came from like, just years of people telling me how I could be, or how I had to be a certain way.
Yeah.
As a black person, I'm like, I couldn't, wear this clothes, or I couldn't, skateboard. I couldn't listen to heavy metal music because I wasn't black. Or vice versa. It'd be one of those things like, oh, you're too white to be black. That's
Yeah.
him. Why are you out? You're the whitest black guy I know. That kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Um, so I was like, let me, do some investigating with my camera and get other people's perspectives
Yeah.
on what it means to be black as a black person. Because I know there's not only just one way to be African American.
Yeah.
There's tons of ways, tons of subcultures, everything. And not everyone, when I act the same way, not everyone's portrayed or like made out to be the way we're portrayed in media and stuff.
Exactly.
So I was like, let me see what I can do. So I started small, started with 35 millimeter to see how I like the format. Then I realized, no, that's too small. I want to blow these up to like 3.5 by 4 feet so people will look at them.
Yeah.
And they're all black and white because it's like a black and white issue to me, quite literally.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I think with like my photography. Like each piece has a meaning to me, rather than it just being like, oh, I'm using film just because it's film.
Yeah.
There's like a meaning behind everything. But I want to get into that.
Yeah.
But there's a lot.
Yeah.
There's a lot that goes on in my
Yeah.
head when I talk about this stuff.
You're an artist. Yeah.
But then the 4x5 is just like you get so much detail, and it's just like the photos can shift in and out. It just depends on what you want and everything else like that. But
Yeah.
that's kind of where I'm at right now. Making bigger prints and stuff like that. But,
Wow. Very cool. And
Yeah.
that I didn't even know all that about the Still Black series. I don't even know if we touched on that when we met at City Hall.
Yeah.
But as an adopted black man,
Yeah.
as a black man who grew up in a white world,
Yeah.
I mean that whole transition for me was a big deal. I mean it's part of the reason that I moved to Georgia. It's
Yeah.
part of the reason that I went on a longer journey, and just to like understand the diversity in and of the black community,
Yeah.
and to understand like what blackness really is,
Yeah.
and to understand that, like our blackness doesn't necessarily shift whether we like skateboarding or we like rap music.
Yeah.
And because like at the end of the day, like we're all receiving the same oppression.
Exactly.
And a lot of people, there's all these stigmas that kind of keep us inside of a box.
Yep.
I actually did an Instagram post on this,
Yeah.
talking about how like when I was going through this and I finally like became solidified in myself as a black man, I realized that like a lot of people were trying to push blackness into this box, and they don't want black people to experience the diversity of the black community. And so, and that's kind of like synced into our own culture, in which like now we live out the white man's world.
Uh-huh.
And it's been super crazy to just like try to break those barriers as somebody who, like I wrote like singer-songwriter like folk music when I was in high school, you know what I mean? And I love a ton of things that wouldn't be considered like stereotypical black. You know what I mean?
I got
but
you.
like it again, but like when the cops pull me over, like nothing changes.
Same thing.
Yeah, like when I go different places, I still get treated like a black man.
Yeah.
And again, that isn't what blackness is.
Yeah.
Our blackness is not even our systematic oppression.
Nope.
You know what I mean? Our blackness is our skin tone, and it's our culture, and it's our history.
Yeah.
It is not the injustices that have been put on us.
Yep.
And so I really like this series. Yeah. So why don't you just go into some of the? We'll start with the top one.
Okay.
Intimidating. Nah, she got that power. And I'll pull a screenshot of it on the screen.
Yep. That's probably my favorite picture almost ever.
Yeah.
Just because knowing the person, I feel like I captured like who she was as this person. Because like to me, she's like this 6 foot like strong black female from Africa, and I'm like, she's just this very intimidating figure to me. And like that portrait is like that's her in a nutshell. Like it's very stern but beautiful, but like I don't know, it just kind of encapsulates. Like it was just like a good start to the project. Like it was a good kicking point. And like every time I look at that picture, I'm like, I'm proud of what I'm doing. I'm proud of like what I made there, and I know I'm representing that person in the best light possible.
Yeah.
And then that's kind of what I hope to get across with a lot of these pictures. Like I don't want to be like in your face blackness. I want it to be subtle nuances that like people understand, but still kind of have to think about like black identity and black culture. But there's been times where like I've been talking to a black person and I'll tell them about the project, I'll show them the pictures, and they'll be like, "Oh, I got it immediately." Like they just get it like without me having to say any words. And I think that's like what motivates me a lot, because like when I walk up to somebody, I'm like, "Oh, here's this project, here's some of the pictures." They're like, "Oh my gosh, I love this. I get that one." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I'm glad you got it on that level without me having to say anything." And that happened like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
This lady was like just starting out photography. She saw the work and was like, "Yo, these are amazing. I love that picture of the baby on top of his father's shoulders."
Oh yeah, that's what we're talking about next.
And I'm like, "Oh."
Yeah.
I'm like, that's what I want. Like this, and it's just like simple. It's almost like I'm trying to play on like different ways people have stereotyped this. Like with that one of it's my cousin and his son.
And the caption is, "What is a father?"
Yeah.
Oh.
And that one kind of played on like, a lot of people are like, "Oh, absentee black father." That's what a lot of people, riff on in black culture and stuff. And it's like, that's not true. It's like people tend to think that, but it's not true for every black man. Like, we're not terrible people. Like, but that one was important to me because I'm like, there's a whole other backstory to that picture. But I was like, I need to do this for my cousin to show that he is this good person and this good father, and to show everyone that he's this good person and this good father, because that doesn't need to be like who we are about or what people think of us. And I just think things like that, like little things that like I said, people get and then they understand, and it's like, oh, it clicks in their head and they get it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like there's just like, I'm still growing.
Yeah, of course.
I'm still trying to figure out like how to take these pictures, but I just kind of go with the flow, and it comes out.
Yeah, the next one that was really interesting to me was Uprising, the one in Nia. Isn't that Nia?
Yeah.
Yeah. What kind of brought about this one? I think it kind of stands out in the collection to me because it's definitely different. It's not straight on like a lot of the other ones.
Yeah. That one was actually, I got really lucky. That was on like a 70-degree day in October.
Nice.
And I was like, what is happening? Like, something otherworldly is happening because it must want me to photograph today. Like,
Yeah.
So we went out, I just found this pile of rocks. And I'm like, hey, Nia, go up there, dress in all black when you're ready, and just sit up on top of those rocks. And I took a couple shots, and then I kneeled down, and I'm like, let me elevate her in the frame.
Yeah.
As like this strong figure, but like this calm figure. And I'm like, that's perfect. So when I framed it up, I'm like, yo, this is going to be dope. Like, I already know it's going to look great no matter what. Like, and there's another version where she's looking at the camera, but the one looking out is like far better. And it's just like, that one, in the afterthought, I was like, yo, this picture, I'm so happy with it. Like, this strong black woman, big ass heels, and a wrap on top of it. It was great. I was so happy.
No, this one, I like this one a lot, to be honest. It really portrays, I think, the strength that black women bring.
Yeah.
Black women bring so much strength to society.
Yeah.
But, like, even just to, like, our individual lives. And I think this is a really good portrayal of just that calmness but strength.
Yeah, dude.
You don't always get what you see. I'm assuming that plays a little bit to what you were talking about earlier.
Yep. That's kind of like I wanted to make a diptych as soon as I saw those pictures too, because a lot of the pictures honestly have like personal backstory to them.
Yeah,
that's kind of how I created a lot of not the stories, but like framing the imagery. And that's where that one came from, because my friend in the picture was kind of dealing with an issue himself, where like people were saying things about him, but then I know him, and he's not that way. So it's like I need to take this picture to show this is how he really is, but then this is how other people may see him, even though they don't know him. So it's like that's kind of where that came from. Am I talking about the right one? Am I talking about a different one?
The Pennsylvania College of Art and Design.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. I sorry, my mind blanked for a second, but that one is also like a testament to him as my friend. It's kind of like I wanted to do him a solid, and I wanted him to be part of the project. Like, he was one of the first people I asked. But it's just kind of like what he was going through at the time is kind of encapsulated like in those two images. And it, like I said, another freak day. It was like 70 degrees in November, and I'm like,
we had a lot of those weird days.
This is great. Like, this project's working out great. So
cool. We'll talk about this last one. You sponsored. I'm sponsored.
Okay, that's one of my most recent. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, just like what's going on. She's wearing a lot of sponsor clothes.
Yeah.
What kind of inspired this shot?
That one came from like her personal style. She's a local model, trying to get out there and do her thing. Mm-hmm. And I follow her on Instagram, and like a lot of her stuff is like promotion. Like, she does a lot of stuff. Just to get herself out there, get into the modeling scene and stuff like that.
Oh, so she's a natural model.
Yeah. And I can't remember her Instagram name because it's kind of weird, but she's dope.
I feel like I've seen her before.
Yeah,
she's a local.
Yeah. And I was like, yo, you want to shoot for my project? Can you help me out? And she's like, sure. So I'm like, just wear whatever you want, because whatever you're gonna wear is gonna be awesome in the pictures anyway. So I thought about the title came from like, almost like I thought about like racing car suits and how they have all these sponsors on them. But then I was like, yo, this girl came in this outfit, and it's like she's wearing like all this stuff, but it's like, it's almost like she's showing her personality rather than like a brand or anything. It's just like who she is comes out in her clothing. And that's kind of why I like that, like kind of why I titled that image that way. It's just like, I'm trying to think, she's basically like showing out. Like, in her individuality. Like, that's why I like that picture so much. It's like, I need to show this outfit, because I don't think people understand, like, she's got style, she's confident in it, and that's why I like it so much. It's just awesome. That's why I like it.
It is an awesome shot.
Yeah.
It's a great shot.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. Okay. I'm gonna go to one that I'm really excited to talk about.
Okay.
We're gonna talk about the Exposed series.
Oh, cool.
Dude, this one is definitely different.
Yeah.
I've actually not seen anything like this because most of the time when people do nude portraits, it's women.
It's always women.
And so, yeah, talk about this Exposed series. Give me your kind of description, why you wanted to do it, and then, yeah.
Well, I'll be honest with you. When I was in college, I actually started a project my junior year, dealing with the figure, and then the chair of the department was like, "Well, why don't you photograph dudes?" And I'm like, "Well, that's a good idea. Why don't I photograph dudes?" So I was like, let me try it. Let me give it a try. So, first problem I ran into, finding guys.
Yeah.
That's the biggest hurdle, because guys don't want to put themselves out there like that. It's too much pride. People don't, and it's just like you're putting yourself in a vulnerable state of like where you have to A, let another dude photograph you, B, sit there for like 10 to 20 minutes while I set up the camera and actually compose everything, and then actually get your picture taken and have it shown to people. So it's like all those factors come into play when people were helping me out. But luckily I went to art school, so a lot of the guys didn't care.
Yeah.
But it's like
cool.
A lot of people didn't care. So I was like, cool. And I ended up with like 6 solid pictures over a year of shooting. And that project actually evolved in like me looking at myself and masculinity and like how like men are kind of groomed to be a certain way. It's like you have to be masculine, you have to show no weakness. That also came from like my father's like a pretty stern dude. So he doesn't really show a lot. He doesn't cry a lot. He doesn't really show any weakness a lot. So it's like that comes from that personal standpoint. And I'm like, well, how can I kind of flip that on its head and show people that men can show this side of themselves?
Yeah.
And show it in the nude form. So I was like, let me just. I ran with it. And yeah, a lot of them. I was very successful. Like my senior show was great.
Yeah.
And they were like 4 feet wide, about like 3.5 feet big.
Yeah, I mean I think these are pretty powerful images as a whole, and I kind of like how they're set up and how you organize them even on your website.
Yeah.
And I think they do show a vulnerability that men aren't shown to feel, and I like that. And I think it's really important that we start portraying more men like that.
Yeah.
Because it's not weakness.
No.
Vulnerability is not weakness.
Not at all.
You know what I mean? And so when I came across this today, I was like, whoa. I like this.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I'm a really big fan of this.
Yeah.
And this kind of we'll go ahead and talk about Honesty since they're kind of in the same league. Honesty is kind of like what the female version in a sense. Okay, so inspiration for this.
Well, generally, something I've been working on a long time because I'm a male and I feel like as a male photographer, there will always be this male gaze into female nudes, no matter what I do, no matter what I try. It's like there's always going to be that element in there. So I wanted to distance myself from that as much as I could by creating images that just didn't sexualize the female body, because that's a lot of what I see, just everywhere. And it's a challenge. Like it's in the title Honesty just came from me. I'm like, I just want to be honest. Like I want to be upfront. I don't want any BS. I don't want any. I don't want people to think of these like my friends, the people in the photographs, as like objects. That's my whole goal. And that's another thought I brought into it. Like a lot of the people I photographed are my friends, so it's like now I have to think about how am I gonna put them on, not on blast, but like portray them in my photographs. It's like now they're my friends, and now I have to like show them in a positive light.
Yeah.
And just go with it. Like it's just there's a lot that goes into my mind, but I'm just trying to like sum it up into one thing.
No, that makes sense. I mean, I'm glad. You're welcome to go off as
I got
much
you.
as you want. But I think that's a powerful thing. I think nudity as a whole has been super sexualized.
Yeah.
But like, I think it's really beautiful just to like, like even with like a partner, just like be naked. It doesn't always have to be sexual.
Yeah.
Like you can have a comfortability with somebody in like the naked form. And so I think these like are really countercultural because, and like even just looking through them, It is. It's more honest. It's more real. It's more like what these women are actually going through in like their actual life than it is like this staged like
Yeah.
sexy thing that
Yeah,
we
yeah.
see on like Instagram all
Yeah,
the time.
yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with women who want to do that, but I think that what you're getting at here is just like the sexualization
Yeah.
and how it's like warped our mind
Yeah.
to not think about like nudity in the right
Yeah.
context.
Yeah.
Like, because nudity is both sexy, but it's also just nature.
Yeah.
Like, it's also
It's
just
just there.
natural.
Yeah.
And we should be able to compartmentalize
Yeah.
those things. Like, every time my mom kisses me on the cheek, I don't get an erection.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, like, we have to be able to compartmentalize
Yeah.
these emotions and spend time with people. So, yeah, I'm very moved by these pieces. I'm a really big fan.
Yeah, thanks, man.
We'll go to Church Ladies next, and then
It's a fun one.
yeah, dude. Yeah, Church Ladies. Just talk about kind of what inspired this, the models. These are like a pretty, because you have no writing here,
No.
so this is kind of like almost like a mystery,
Yep.
other than the fact that it's called Church Ladies.
Yeah. Well, this kind of comes from like a memory of mine when I used to used to go to breakfast with my grandmother when I was like 10, 11, 12. Subsequently, up until they stopped doing it, and they all couldn't get around anymore. But all the women in the photographs, we call them the Golden Girls.
Nice.
They used to go to breakfast. Like it's just they used to go like 20 deep. All these old black women, and me being like this young kid. It's like, oh, you're a cute little boy, and I'm like, I would just sit there and observe, listen to them talk about old stories, all kinds of stuff, and we'd all just have a good time. It was great. Me and my cousins would go. But then when this project came about, I was like, I need to document these women before they're all gone. So I was like, let me get like 12 or 15 of them together while they're still mobile. I brought them into the school or at a studio, and that was great because watching a bunch of like 75, 80-year-old women walk around an art school is the most fun ever. And I'm just leading them along. It's the best. It was the best. It was the best. Like my grandmother, two of her sisters were there, and then a bunch of her friends were all in this one room just talking to each other. Wow. And one by one, just photographed each of them like twice. Wow. And they were just telling me stories about like, how bright the lights were. And I'm like, oh, like, can you turn that down? I'm like, well, I can't because I got to photograph you. And it was just a lot of, it was a great like 2 days. I photographed them like twice over the course of like a week. And those pictures came out. I mean, I didn't really I didn't want to make them come back a third time because I'm like, I might be pushing it. Let me wait a little bit. But that's kind of where it came from. And like, they all go to the same church too. So that's why I call it Church Ladies.
Oh, nice. Which church?
Bethel AME.
Oh, yeah.
It's on Church
Yeah,
Street.
that's the popular one.
Historic one, yeah.
It's very historic.
Yeah.
Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah, man.
I'm a big fan of everything that I've seen. We're going to take a break here before we start talking about some community stuff. We're going to talk about the Couple Project. I thought this was just devastatingly cute, to be honest. I was like sitting here like, wow, this is just so cute.
It's adorable.
Yeah. So you have the photo and you have the note.
Yeah.
Yeah. Talk about this is just like such a beautiful idea.
Yeah.
So like, what made you want to do this one?
That one came from my own relationship. That's where that all stemmed from. I was like, me and my my girlfriend at the time, who's my fiance now. I was like, man, we have a great connection. Like, I wonder how other couples feel about their significant other, and if I can capture that in like different ways through photography. So, first off, I was trying to set up. I'm like, I don't want them to look like engagement photos. That's what I don't want. And I'm like, how can I do that, but still get the message across that these people are together? So like I took the one couple to like it's the orange one with the hands. I took a couple to a porta potty. It's an orange porta potty, and I was like, hey, just hold hands in front of this. Trust me, it'll look dope. And then that picture came out of it. So I was like, it's just like a lot of the images I try and create, I try and make them just not romantic at all, but they're connected somehow. So like the hands is one. There's another one of like the two holding hands on the basketball court,
Yeah, that's
and
what
he
I'm
has
looking
like
at
and
now.
he has like a weird face on,
Yeah.
and that just came from like them joking around. I'm like, hey, can you do that face again for this picture, and then you just be plain face, and that I just try and make them as different as possible. And then the notes came. I was like, hey, I need you both to write about your significant other and why they're important to you, but don't show them. And the
Yeah.
only way you'll see what they wrote is when I put it on my website.
Yeah.
So a lot of the people like there's some people that haven't seen their notes yet,
Yeah.
but it's like that's the
Dude.
cool part about it.
Yeah, it's so cute.
Um,
Like this one, even right here, the one that we were just talking about. Like she is the first person I've met that is more important than I am myself. That's how it will always be. Like that's so cute.
I know.
Like that's awesome.
I know, it's great. It's
Yeah.
great, and I think that's why I like doing it so much. Like because I get to read them, but I don't want to see what they write either before. And then when I get home and start scanning the images, it's like, oh my gosh, this is adorable. This is great.
Yeah.
You know, of course, there's been like couples that have broken up that I photographed, but they wrote notes about each other. So I'm like, should I use them? Shouldn't I use them? And it's kind of like that debate.
Yeah, the complication.
But I was like, shit,
It's so
like,
good.
It's like it's good, like it's good stuff. But I'm like, and the pictures look awesome. But I'm like, do I really want to bring that back up? And
Yeah.
I don't know who's looking, so I was like, I'll just keep
Let
them
it
on,
go.
let it go, keep them on download, just photograph somebody else. But it's like I feel like that's always going to be a recurring issue. Like people that have been together like 7 years, then all of a sudden they just break up or something, and I'm like, well,
Yeah.
can't use photos anymore because you're not together. So it's like.
Exactly.
But yeah, and like it's a really fun project. It kind of came to a halt, just because I got caught up with other stuff, and I kind of get sidetracked when I do like, that's like one of my biggest faults in my head when I do something like super important. I get sidetracked with something that I just should not be working on,
Yeah.
and then I was like, oh shit, I have this awesome project back here that I should keep going on, and I'm like, well, why am I not doing that right now?
Yeah.
So. But the
I feel
black,
that.
the black project right now, it's not really on hold, but the cold weather has obviously made it harder to photograph people outside. I don't have a studio, so a lot of the environments, it's like, are you willing to get cold for this picture? And the camera I use is relatively slow, so it's like I only take 8 pictures, so I have to make sure everything's perfect before I take the picture. And
So it's like it's very complicated if it's cold.
yeah. So
No, that makes sense.
it being cold, yeah, it doesn't help.
Yeah, no, I feel that. Yeah, dude. I think, your series, like your different projects, I think that's kind of what sells you, like the uniqueness of your product, and like the uniqueness of your projects. Like I can think of like 17 Lancaster photographers right now, and I would not spend as much time on their website as I would spend on yours.
Oh, thanks. man.
Like, just because the way you're doing projects and the way that they're coming out, and like even the way you're like able to articulate like what's going on in your process, like I can spend a lot more time here
Yeah.
than I would on other people's websites, just
Yeah.
because you had like you're going down the right path is basically what I'm trying to say.
Well, thank
It's
you.
like
Thank you.
this is something that I can really get behind. Like
Thanks.
I could really come to like an Osmond J. Ori night somewhere and see like your
be
whole
awesome.
display.
That'd be awesome.
You know what I mean?
One day.
Yeah, that's something that I would come to go see. So talk about getting your art displayed here. What is that process like?
That is a hard process. That's a hard process, and I will be upfront with you. Downtown doesn't help it very much.
Yeah.
I remember I watched one of the episodes from before, and you guys were talking about downtown, how it's changed, and just like the Millersville scene, stuff like that. But I was like, yo, downtown, like they're right, like they're on the money, because I went to school down there.
Yeah.
And I watched it change from 2007 to 2011, like how Gallery Row came to be, and like how its shops came in and out. And I was like, what is going on? Like, how come you like all this stuff is downtown now, but yet you don't see any of the artists from the school right a block over?
Yeah.
You don't see any of those people,
That's a big issue.
and it's annoying because I'm like, you have 300 plus artists over there.
Yeah.
300 plus. And I'm like, how can you not tap into that? There's a senior show every year that you could come to, and just they show their best stuff. It's their
Yeah.
best.
Yeah.
Like, why wouldn't you go to that? Like, why don't gallery owners go over there and just scout?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
it's such a simple thing to do, and like giving younger artists a chance straight out the gate is better than giving them no chance, in my opinion. It's like
Yeah.
I think about that all the time, Every senior show I go to, I'm like, yo, this artist dope, deserves to be over there, deserves to be down
Yeah.
there. But it's like for me, I think it's mostly like personally, I think it's just old money, old
Yeah.
ways. Sticking with the status quo, stuff
Yeah.
like that. That art's not going to sell, so I'm not going to put it in my gallery, that kind of thing. And I just feel like the galleries downtown don't support the people that they need to, in my opinion.
Yeah.
They're just sticking with something that's, I don't know, not dying, but it's just like kitschy art. You know?
Yeah, it's not really. It's also not really a representation of everything that's here,
Yeah.
or even the people
Yeah.
that are here.
Yeah.
Like you said, it's old money came in, and
Yeah.
you know the gentrification issues that kind of happen
Yep.
in our city,
Yeah.
and you know you go to Annex, and that's like almost like a different world.
Mhm.
You go to Annex 24, and that's like what happened.
So why
Yeah,
is this
exactly.
place- Yeah.
But that is the most urban place, art gallery in Lancaster. And then you go to Gallery Row, and you're like, why are these like two different worlds?
Yep. Yep.
And like you're right, it's a huge issue.
Yeah.
So have you been able to get any shows, or do you put on your own shows, or do you kind of just play to what you can?
It's kind of like when the opportunity arises, I go after it, and I go after it like hard. So it's
Yeah.
like if I'm gonna be in a show somewhere, I'm like I'm gonna make these pictures as big as I possibly can because I want people to see them. It's like it's kind of like you have to make a stamp. You have to let people know, here I am. This is my work. I'm not going nowhere, and I'm gonna be here for a while. But it's like I've had shows downtown. Some of them downtown. But there was two two galleries a couple years ago. Sunshine Art and Design. They were here in 2013, but they left. They had to stop. They were awesome for emerging artists. They helped so many people, so many young artists. They had a dark room. They had all kinds of different shows. Annie, the owner, was amazing at helping people get their work. They actually had it's a show they had every year. It had like 150 artists in it. You just had it's like a panel canvas that you had, and like you had to pay $10 for the panel, and you could do whatever you want on it.
Dude.
But you were guaranteed almost to get into the show. And it's like 150 panels of art for all these 150 artists.
Wow.
And I'm like, you don't see that anywhere else. Like you don't see people given like that little glimpse into who you are as an artist. Like that was I thought it was the coolest thing ever. Like, and I'm like, how come we don't have things like that anymore? And like then there was another gallery called Discerning Eye for the arts. Yeah. How was awesome. She's still around, but her gallery was dope too. She brought in artists from Philly all over like the area, and they were like just small artists. But her shows were great because they had music. They had like big installations in the middle. Her gallery was awesome. She had workshops, and sadly it's not here anymore. But it's like places like that are like what we need for younger artists and artists of color. Like that's what we need. But right now, there's a gallery on Christian Street. I don't know if you heard of it. You know Pava Gallery?
Name sounds slightly familiar, but I don't really know. If I do, I might not really.
I can't remember what it stands for, but they're black-owned gallery on Christian Street.
Interesting.
All black art. They're open, I think, 5 days a week, and they're open 12 to 4 on Saturdays just to come hang out.
Cool.
And it's awesome. And Pava Gallery. I'm looking at Pava Gallery. Whoever's watching this. Pava Gallery. Please go check them out. They're run by two awesome black women.
Cool. I'm gonna make a note to go actually check that out this week.
Go check it out. They're very supportive. They helped me get like my little zines out there when I was making them.
Really?
They helped one of my friends, Maurice. He's in one of the pictures that we looked at. He's in Florida now in grad school, but like they helped him get a big show before he left.
Wow.
And they do a lot. They do a lot, and they need our support because they're small gallery.
Exactly.
And it's black owned, and they have all black art. So it's like
that's pretty impressive.
Can't really. It's really cool. It's really cool.
Yeah, we need to get some more artists about that. I'm gonna make sure some of my artist friends know about that.
Yeah, dude.
Get everybody over there.
Yes.
What kind of stuff would you like to see? Like, what kind of events would you like to see, man? Like
here?
Yeah. What kind of events would you like if you could have your way? What kind of events would you like to put on, or like you see other people throw, or?
what I want to do, I was thinking about this with Selena the other day. She's like, you should get together with like your POC friends and like your your black photographers that you know, and just have like just a talk about about your work, about being black as a photographer, all kinds of questions. Just come together at Pava in a black space where you all can be yourselves and not have to worry about people saying stuff, and just get together and have that core group of friends and just have it be recurring. Because I know since starting this black project, I've reconnected or connected with a bunch of people I never thought I'd meet. But I'm realizing in doing this project, I'm weeding out the people that need to be in my life and the people that don't need to be in my life. So, like, I'm coming to find out that, like, I don't know, it's kind of, like, instinctual. Like, being around black people almost makes me, like, a lot happier.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny because, like, most of my life I grew up with white friends.
Yeah.
But then the more and more I do this project, the more I'm, like, people, like, understand me more than, like, a lot of my white friends do. And that's something I still struggle with, like, kind of having a balance. But
yeah, exactly.
But I'm getting off.
You're good.
But that's kind of like one of the things I definitely wanted to start seeing, just like black artists getting together and just talking about their work and what they're doing. Yeah. I want to see more black spaces, just places, generally for people of color to just conjugate, because I feel like we don't have spaces like that. Just like a space. That's the big thing, and I think you alluded to it. In one of our conversations earlier before we were on the podcast.
I'm working around the idea of space. I'm trying to figure out what that looks like and what it looks like best, and like what it needs to look like for me to take like the idea behind our place and turn it into an actual physical plant. I'm trying to figure out like what that best looks at, or if like the art thing needs to be its own thing. You know what I mean? And so I think the main thing that I liked about what you just said was the getting together. People really undersell what it means just to be in community with each other, and like what that could create in and of itself. Like you never really know who has what. You know what I mean? You might be able to put together your own art show with like the 25 people that you bring there, because one person has like a small space you could use. The other person has like a DJ they could bring. The other person's really good at social media. Like
bringing resources.
You know what I mean? Like you guys could all come together and like basically like break the whole art scene here by yourself, just by being in community with each other. And so I think that'd be really impactful just to see that start to happen. And that's like one of my things has been like I've just been trying to get different people together to like start doing like little brunches. Like I just give my card around. I'm like, hey, like reach out if you ever like want to hang out, and like we could just get a bunch of people to go to brunch,
simple stuff,
and talk about this, social issue or this conference we were all at together, or how do we keep affecting change? Like you can't undersell the impact of community. Like you just can't. Nobody throughout history has like denied the fact that like community is how change happens. So yeah, dude, I'm a really big fan of you like doing that, and it seems like you have the skills, and like you can articulate what you want to see well enough to kind of portray it to the other artists. Because every other artist that I've talked to basically wants the same thing. I mean, Keisha and Lunga were just on here a couple weeks ago, and they basically said the same thing. You know what I mean?
That's
like,
what we want.
It's not like nobody's gonna be like, well,
it's like, well, I don't want that.
Nobody's gonna be like, I don't really know about that. Like everybody's like, we need a black space. We need to be able to put on our shows. We need to feel safe somewhere. And also, I don't want to spend half my bank account on a coffee at Prince Street.
Exactly.
So, like, there has to be, some, and I think there needs to be. If Lancaster's going to grow the way it is, it should not grow without urban development as well. It doesn't make any sense, actually.
It doesn't.
Because, I mean, statistics also show that you need Black and Latina people to have a city survive. Like you actually need minorities for small businesses and regular businesses to thrive. And so my confusion in all of this like gentrification stuff is like we're bringing in so much heavily like white stuff that like when the Black people do like leave or like stop going around, like the city's just gonna like have its own issue. Like white communities can't thrive like that
I mean,
anymore.
dead.
Yeah, like
Be
Lancaster's
dead.
gentrifying to try to get ahead,
Yeah.
but that actually might hurt
It's
it
gonna hurt
in
it.
the end if they don't do anything
Yeah.
for minorities.
Well, I was gonna touch on that. I think that's like my biggest issue. It's like the redlining in the city, like that block right before you hit like Dreams Collide, or right
Yeah.
after I should say you hit Dreams
Yeah.
Collide. It's just like it sucks to go the whole way down Prince Street. Everything's hustling and bustling, yada yada, lights, all this stuff, and people walking around. The instant you hit that, you go across the street. It's just dead zone.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's not fair. Like
Yeah.
it really isn't, because it's
Yeah.
like people like even in college, I see it like at F&M or with PCAT students. It's like when I was in college, people wouldn't go outside of a 2-block radius of the school, and I'm like, this city's huge. Like
yeah. You
there's
can go more than that.
there's much more to explore than Prince Street, and I'm like, and because of, like, it's just because of that little invisible boundary that people have set around the downtown area. People just don't want to explore. They're like, oh, we can't go down there. That's a bad neighborhood. I'm like,
What bad neighborhood?
What bad neighborhood? Like, it's like, what are you talking about?
That's always been my biggest, like, of course, like, there is, there's some gangs in Lancaster, and there's some like rougher areas of Lancaster, but Lancaster is not the hood.
I'm like, bro,
Lancaster is not that
it's
rough.
like, we're not. No, like, I've seen it. Like, I've gone to other cities and driven through it. Like, we're nothing compared to other cities, and it sucks that other cities are that way. But like, you haven't seen nothing.
You shouldn't be scared to go past Prince Street.
Like, you shouldn't at all. What's down there? There's like an elementary school, and like it's just, I don't know. I just think it's dumb that people
Well, it's a stigma that they want to create. It keeps everybody contained
in one space. Yeah.
Yeah, and no, that's a huge problem with the college students as a whole. Like, the college students don't really like to go outside of their college.
Basically.
And that's why we see so little community involvement from young people.
Yeah.
Like, that goes back to that issue, which is where, like, the colleges have their students, like, they just stay on campus.
Yep.
And even at F&M, which is right here in the city, like, they're basically told to stay on campus.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, you wonder why we don't have a lot of young people out here volunteering in the community and who are, like, affecting a lot of change.
Yep.
Well, it's because they're on a college campus that they're told not to leave.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And then our youth here that are younger aren't being inspired because there's no opportunities.
Yep.
And so there's a lot.
Yeah.
And
Oh, I want to touch on one more thing. You just
go
made me
ahead.
think of something. Another thing I have a gripe with is like exposure for POC events. A lot of times when I find out about something that's like inherently for people, it's not strictly for people of color, but it's like, you should go to this
if you're black.
if you're black or Latino. Like,
Yeah.
you should go to it because it's like it doesn't come around a lot, and it's like
You like the City Hall thing?
Yes. It's
Yeah.
just like, don't get me wrong. See, I helped organize that show. We did our best to get the word out. But I honestly feel there needs to be more done about the promotion of black events, Latinx events, POC events in general, just to get people out. Because, like, a lot of people don't know about them just because it's like a lot of people don't have the internet sometimes or don't have, certain facilities to
Or
where
certain
they
friends.
Yeah.
A lot of events are friends, like who you like, who you follow.
Exactly. So
Um,
it's just like I don't know. We need to be more aware and like get the word out and that also goes into like just connecting with other people. Like you never know who you could meet at some event, and then that leads to this, that, and the third.
Exactly.
And bam! Now you have a show. Like,
Yep. Shout out First Latina Thursday.
there you go.
Happening April 3rd. Shout out Norman.
Yep.
Yeah, like there's one that I know off the top of my head, but like again, there could be others that are being planned right now that I don't know about.
There's a bunch.
So, dude, I appreciate your time.
Yeah, no problem.
Thanks for coming in and like sharing the word.
Yeah.
And sharing your work.
Yeah.
Your work is vulnerable and it's beautiful. And I'm glad we're friends and I'm glad we connected.
Yeah.
I'm glad you told me about your work at City Hall.
Yeah.
Because from the minute you told me about that series, I was like, oh man, I should really have him on the podcast. So thank you again, man. I really appreciate it.
Oh, shameless plug.
Oh, yeah,
I have a
please.
show coming up at the end of the month in Philly and Little Berlin.
Berlin.
It's gonna have more of my Black project, some new stuff.
Cool.
And then hopefully 2 more shows next year. So
Cool.
So we're hoping.
Yeah, we'll throw your Instagram up here, your website link.
Yeah.
They'll see it all. But thank you for watching
Yeah.
Our Place episode 6. We got 4 more episodes left. We got some F&M students coming next week to talk a little bit about their experience. And I have a writer coming in the next week. So we got some bangers coming up. So stay tuned. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next week.
Bye.